Join me this October where I'll be celebrating Halloween. 31 zine reviews in 31 days. Joining me will be my friend Beanie. Hi, welcome to another edition of Halloween. We are getting right down to the wire here. It is our last week before our big announcement or draw on October the 31st. So don't forget to enter at Daiku Games. And Beanie is with me as always. Beanie, how are you? How have you been holding up here?
You're funny.
Well, thank you very much. Today we are working on Codex R, which is a Troika supplement. As it says on the back cover, it longs to be read. The vellum will seductively caress the reader's hand. It claims to have written itself, but it refused to answer why. And then if we want to, we can figure out how it's going to react to us, which is playful. So Codex R, as you can see some of the illustrations here, the kind of vibe throughout the whole thing. And it is written by Roque Romero and Eric Cahill and illustrated by Roque Romero himself, edited by Jarrett Crater, and layout by Eric Cahill. And as mentioned, printed at Exalted Funeral, and it is a Troika supplement. So first up, this is almost like, I would say, like a monster manual, so to speak, for Troika. This is the Unwa. They were, for obvious reasons, everyone's favorite deity before being pushed to the wayside by the devotion to order. Blessed with many eyes and 6 mouths, Unwa could spot where most exciting fun was to be found and shout in all directions. Their noses could detect any bad vibes even before they happened, currently making ends meet amongst mortals as a lookout. Delius's hair, a single strand of hair, stately, erect, with vigor and beauty without equal. As long as Delius occupies the throne, he is the sole ruler of the court. Meddling subjects, cursed with tufts and locks unworthy of notice, are constantly plotting ways to fool Delius from the throne. I like the shape of the face. Fear and Sigh, the twins. Once the court decided that order, logic, and clear definitions of a singular meaning were to be the basis of their religion, marketable avatars were requested, and the twins descended from the sky with a shout. So if you are not familiar with Troika at this point, you probably are getting a pretty good sense of the kind of environment that you could be playing in. It's kind of all over the place, but that's what makes it especially fun. Geometrical force. Given the twins' lack of any talent for violence, the geometrical force manifested as their demonic servants, ready to exterminate heretics or point out the gaps in logic of undesirable ideologies. So now you have a bit of a stat block there. Skill, stamina, armor, moderate beast. ISD3. Employed by Fear and Sigh to examine the structural integrity of spheres and non-geometric beings. On damage roll of 6+, the target takes double damage as ISD3 finds their weak spot. And there is another randomness below, which is a 3. They are vicious. The Gonian. The Gonian plants are intelligent agencies' crowning achievement, accomplished by extricating shamelessness from a tattletale and letting it ferment with the entitled seed of an award-winning orchid. A grown plant is able to record all voices in its vicinity, excitedly reciting them whenever harvested. Very cool. Basically a plant parrot. Macula. Given that one can only die once, most fallen disorderly soldiers choose to spend their afterlife in the form of a chaotic fountain of blood. A final act of defiance against the status quo, gathering intel on the enemy in preparation for a highly unlikely uprising. My eyes. Oh my God. Okay, what am I going to call this? Erdonemo. That's probably a real word, and then I'm mispronouncing it. Appointing the soul of a living language as a sole prosecutor has its obvious benefits. New laws are made up at will. Word on the street is that a single loophole would instantly kill it, though none has ever been found. That's kind of cool. Teblev, judge, jury, and prison. Teblev makes up the second half of the judicial system, working in awe-inspiring unison with prosecutor Erdenmo. Proceedings are held on their scalp, defendants quickly swallowed after sentencing. Tick, tick. She visited the court with hopes of entering a trade agreement. Dalius instead saw a greater use for her as a private fan, imprisoning her in a hole. Her parents must miss her very much, and you can see the poor wing stuck out. Orgulian, head of R&D at the court's culinary department, consciously ignoring the important insipidness of its masters, its sole concern is the discovery of new culinary delights. Orgunian's process relies on harvesting new experience, passionate emotions, and sincere hugs, refining them into tasty pellets. In its belly hole. Its bottom hole ejects prototype pellets, forming a colorful trail behind it, banded from using the word arts after culinary. Here is another Scrabble name, IOA. There's more to successful warfare than deafening firepower. IOA virus is designed to sneak into the enemy territories, infect literary works, and constitutions, changing or erasing the cultural pillars that unify a culture. You know, a Troika has been, the Troika zines have been the most tongue twisty of them all. And I think that's part of their charm, but it doesn't make for easy reading. So you're going to have to just put up with my pronunciations and misreadings. Boynes, unnerving, large and indiscriminate waste collector serving the sacred junkyard, slowly chipping away at fulfilling the prophecy to grow an amusement park from the waste. Anyone seeking to retrieve an item must catch dancing Chaba, the guardian, a drunken whirlwind. Looks like a slinky there. You've got collectors looking to trade in order to complete their collection. They try not to think about what they will be when their collection and purpose is fulfilled. Senakodono. These particular drawers sit on the back of a collector, Sam. As we can see, she's strenuously collecting possessions or body parts from assassinated politicians. Different collectors collect different things. Don't you dare suggest otherwise. And here's a D6 of things they collect, which is celebrity skins, lovely, and another one, Gonian seeds that they can part with. So that's their trading. The Lakins, an effective reminder to mischievous minds, the court made an example of these insubordinate poets. They now spend eternity crawling down the wall of remorse, reborn each morning. Sveitzlitz, ambulatory buildings roaming the land each night in search of the most in need of their shelter and love. They rest during the day and soak up their nighttime guests' painful stories. Madrones, each new dissident movement requires a unique response. The court is well aware of this and developed a system of defense. Each incubation chamber houses an eager villain uniquely suited for their task, starving for violence. So this looks like Matryoshka dolls, but evil inside. Thrill mimics, attracted to voids of work ethic, tempting workers plagued by monotony with bright colors and jovial games. Crony with the time, with each of their parts existing simultaneously on separate spheres. Crony is admittedly a marvel of engineering. Blinded by the self-professed brilliance of their invention, the constructs maker fails to notice a small but potentially devastating flaw. What kind of chaos awaits when daylight savings time arrives? Interesting. Here is a lonely ghost. Longs for conversation, but locals know to avoid any contact with the giant stone face. Their prophecies always come true, and due to their pessimistic nature, they are exclusively bad ones. So let's do a prophecy of D6, which is the cadets will be ready tomorrow. Here is the stage. When bored and watching the same play night after night, they become too much. The stage decides to grow legs and leave for the ocean to experience the excitement of a real storm. Skip the page. Hills of comfort and mild manners. And this illustrates, I always say, saddle stitch. It's nice to have kind of your most impressive image spread over those 2 pages. Distraught by the hills of comfort and mild manners, distraught by the knowledge that their record comforting quilts are used to subdue dissident voices and powerless to act. The cadets, as we heard of earlier, directly after a botched haircut, the modest life of a cadet is unceremoniously brought into existence, forming the subject's lost hair and shame, held together by regret and dust. As a curly-headed individual myself, some of the most traumatic experiences in my life have come from poor haircuts. Curly hair is not easy to cut, so I get it. I probably have a few of those kicking around. Eggs, bald avatars of the baby face and brittle, driven by the spite for cadets. They are intent to bring about the apocalypse before their sworn enemies do. Skin dwellers sleep during the daylight under the big Dana skin, hunt fresh skin for Dana during the night, expanding their territory. That's kind of gross. I don't know why. Pilgrims. For all ages, the shells enviously watched the seemingly intoxicated mobility of bipedal beach patrons. Finally, once their desire grew too strong, the shells collectively evicted their ungraceful and slimy tenants. Suddenly free, the shells coaxed the bipeds into union by promise of glory and on both land and sea. So the pilgrims see this kind of as an apex evolution. Bucafoals. Delius imagined that the perfect servant would lack mouths able to talk back. Thus, the headless bucafoals rose from the soil, ready to serve. The buckets, abandoned and deemed useless, the bucafoals fumbled in existential limbo until discovering the utility of buckets warranted signal status, personality, and mood. To the best of their knowledge, the buckets make them blend in seamlessly with the rest of society. Well, that's a interesting take on the bucafoals. Nago, left homeless and vulnerable when abandoned by the pilgrim shells, some opportunistic Nago gastropods entered symbiotic relationships with the bucafoals. They claimed the arrangement is mutual and harmless for their hosts. That's an also interesting take. It's like the 3 stages of aliens. The Hall of Forgiving Eyes. Though the halls lack both followers and prophets, city folks don't dare to gamble on not granting its wishes. Vagabond and self-proclaimed savior of lost souls, aimlessly walking the lands, absorbing any lost or needy soul to the soul he encounters. Now happily sharing skins, each bravely carries them and their burdens to the place where they belong. Sleepy Irta, attached to H's back for as long as she can remember, being H's longest companion, forgot her past as a councilwoman, content knowing she found the spot where she belongs, and it's right there on H's back. Very creepy. Us, after being hunted by amateur adventurers for generations, these sewer rats decide to skip a few evolutionary steps, trading flesh and fur for a fearful electric tail. They can cast a jolt spell. Slamu. Noticing how everyone was disgusted by giant bugs but coveted gold, the Slamu decided to mimic gold bars, patiently waiting to strike unassuming victims. Gurpa. Even though their screaming can be heard several blocks away, citizens have a silent agreement not to talk about why the old station is brimming with reality-bending monsters. Maybe they'll go away, and the walls are sure to hold. Yum beasts. So far, the Yum have satiated their hunger with stone sculptures. The city fears the day they inevitably move onto its buildings. Giant blush. The communal biomass for absorbing embarrassment was a great success with productivity and approval rating skyrocketing. It has, however, been anything but comforting since the face is formed on the blob surface, dangerously close to reaching critical mass. Dobra. Rose from the pool of merchants' abandoned dreams that filled the ground below the arches. A homebody and too big for extraction, he now protects the market. Strand Express. Though functional and free, this was not what people had in mind when they requested public transportation powered by the feet of its passengers. Kermia Park. The act of defiance towards geometry hidden among the hedge mazes. Who is behind the People's Sculpture Network and what is their plan? The Best Hedges Maze. Looking at the mazes from this elevated view misleadingly makes them seem surmountable, but as expected from sore losers, they cheat and transforms if they're close to being solved. Johnny, Annie, Priscilla, and Tommy, souls of the children who got lost and swallowed by the mazes. Joining forces, they managed to possess its map and escape in bipedal form, disheartened from discovering no one has missed them. They now seek a purpose. The Astrals. Looks like an art exhibit. 5 sacred relics of fun. The old way. The relics each represent the 5 cornerstones of fun: sharing, friendship, recreation, cheers, and curiosity. Here's the relics detached. Upon learning relics are indestructible, the court hid each relic in 5 different extra spheral locations. If found, be sure not to hold it wrong side up. Things that might happen. Whew, there's a lot of creatures in here. So there's things that might happen. Owen's plotting to fool Delius to leave his throne. In a fit of paranoia, Delius has illegalized scissors. The hairdresser union is looking for a trustworthy smuggler. The defector claims to know the location of the relic sharing. Someone is posing as a hairdresser and giving horrible haircuts, dramatically increasing the cadets' numbers. ISD-3 has been informed of the Astral's existence and is fuming. H is desperately searching for one of Crony's pieces, said to open the door to an abandoned sphere. Teblev and Erdenmo are preparing a trial, and the accused Nago have hijacked Schweizlitz, forcing it to march to the west to escape justice. Irta is the only witness of the hijacking. Johnny, Annie, Priscilla, and Tommy, as you know, the maze kids, hope to regain their previous lives. Tick-Tick's siblings have come to this sphere in search of their daughter, but now they are hunted by the cadets, mistaking them for angels sent to block the apocalypse. They're hiding in the hedge mazes. A lot of stuff going on. D6 of events. Let's just roll and see what happens. Number 2, it's the anniversary of Delius's coronation. 100 duels are arranged in his honor. And here is a visit to the Villa Madrones. Let's see. Joe, the Bucafol, is sad. They were cleaning the residence, but fled when accidentally awakened. They were walking the Madrones. They dropped their favorite bucket. Orangery, swarm, and sweaty, wondrous plants among the Gonian. In the library, a bunch of eggs are plotting. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And then there's number 7, which is Codex R, venerated chamber of Codex R, which is what we're holding, soothing. Codex R, it is perhaps amongst the most unique items that I'm reviewing as part of Halloween, and I don't know, it's a fun, absolutely creative environment and very befitting of a Troika adventure. So, you know, very few stat blocks, but there's a lot of stuff if you're into Troika that you could probably pull from this. So well done. And once again, Halloween is coming to an end very soon. So don't forget to enter our draw for $200 of store credit at Exalted Funeral, which of course is where you can get a nice print version of this. So until next time, take care.
Happy Halloween, ladies.